Do you think you are free? Think carefully before you answer. You wake in the morning, and the first thing you do is reach for your phone, your thumb already moving across the screen, hunting for something new, something to pull your attention away. Then perhaps a coffee, and a short video to go with it, a song to push back the boredom. On the way to your work, more of it. Voices in your ears, notifications, an endless stream of things to consume. And then, when a moment of real silence finally arrives, what happens inside you? A discomfort rises, an emptiness, something that drives you almost at once to reach for one more distraction, one more small pleasure. The trouble is not pleasure itself. Pleasure is a natural part of being alive, an old mechanism that draws us toward what sustains us. But what happens when pleasure becomes the prison? When the need to feel something good at every moment turns you into the captive of an endless cycle of instant gratification? Nearly 100 years ago, two Englishmen imagined two very different futures. George Orwell warned of a world held down by brutal force and constant surveillance. But Aldous Huxley saw something stranger, and to my mind, more frightening. A world in which no one would need to be forced to obey, because they would be so entertained, so flooded with pleasant things, that the thought of rebellion would never even cross their minds. A world where slavery would need no chains, where people would come to love their own servitude. Now I, who spent my life studying not the state, but the soul, want to take you deeper than either of those men did, because the chains Huxley foresaw are not only out there in the world around you, they are also in here, in the quiet way you have learned to flee from yourself. If you believe you are still in command of your own mind, then keep listening. You may discover that you never quite were. The perfect servitude needs no torture, no threats, no one watching over your shoulder. It needs only one thing, simple and devastatingly effective: pleasure. When pleasure becomes the center of a life, servitude learns to disguise itself as freedom. And this is precisely what Huxley foresaw in his Brave New World. Picture a society in which people question nothing because they are forever entertained, where the search for meaning has been quietly replaced by the consumption of cheap distraction. In his vision, human beings are shaped from birth to avoid anything that brings discomfort. And whenever an unwelcome feeling rises, a sadness, an unease, a flicker of existential doubt, the answer is always at hand. A dose of soma, the perfect drug, which keeps everyone gently anesthetized and perfectly docile. But is this only fiction? Think honestly about your own days. When boredom comes, or sadness, or frustration, what is your first response? Do you stop and try to understand what you are feeling? Or do you reach, almost without thinking, for a distraction? The feed, the series, the food, the drink, the game. The list has no end. You never have to face the emptiness. You simply fill it again with another dose. And here is the most dangerous part of all. It feels entirely like a choice. No one is forcing you to spend your hours this way. No one holds a weapon to your head. But if it is truly a choice, then why is it so very hard to stop? Huxley's answer was conditioning, and I would offer you the deeper one. You flee because in that silence, in that emptiness you find so unbearable, something is waiting to be met, and no one ever taught you how to meet it. If this is reaching something in you, subscribe to this channel so the rest of this descent can find you. Have you ever wondered why it is so hard to stop? Why, even knowing you ought to turn to something that matters, your hand drifts back to the phone, and your mind begins to beg for one more notification, one more video, one more small jolt of the new. This does not happen by accident. You were trained for it, slowly, over many years. From very early, we are taught to avoid discomfort at almost any cost. Our schooling so often rewards the repeating of information over the daring of real thought. The world of work asks us to produce, rarely to reflect. And the culture of endless entertainment hands us one distraction after another, so that we never quite stop and turn and question the world we are living in. Huxley understood this with great clarity. In his world, the citizens did not need to be crushed by force. They were taught instead to love their own captivity. From childhood, soft messages were repeated to them as they slept, shaping their beliefs without their ever knowing. So they grew up certain that happiness lay in fitting in avoiding every deep thought, in fleeing the smallest shadow of suffering. Now consider how this reaches into your own world. The shaping no longer comes through whispers in the night. It comes through the endless current of stimulus that moves your behavior without your noticing. Each notification brings its small reward. Each effortless video teaches you a little more not to think for yourself. And each time you are rewarded for going along, with approval, with a small wave of pleasure, you are quietly confirmed in the belief that this is the right way to live. The result is a great many people who can no longer sit alone with their own thoughts, who cannot bear discomfort, who no longer question, because the very habit of questioning has fallen away. I spent the last years of my life warning of something very close to this, not of a tyrant, of something far quieter, the dissolving of the single human being into the mass. The person who can no longer stand alone, who hands their own judgment over to the crowd, who flees the difficult task of becoming a true individual. I call this the mass man. And the mass man is not in the end created by force. He is created by the flight from himself. It is far easier to be carried along by the current and by the noise than to turn and face the one person you have been avoiding all your life, yourself. Now imagine a world in which no one suffers, where every pain is swiftly erased, where there is no sadness, no frustration, no anxiety left to trouble anyone. It sounds like paradise. But look more closely. What becomes of a person who never once faces difficulty? What becomes of a whole society shaped to avoid every discomfort? The answer is plain. It grows weak. Huxley saw this trap with a chilling clarity. In his world, happiness was guaranteed by the steady consumption of soma. No risk, no side effects, only pleasure. But what did that happiness truly mean? It meant that no one knew how to face pain or frustration or even the contents of their own mind. Every uncomfortable thought was simply dissolved in a chemical dose of comfort. Now look around you. Your world has no soma, but it has built its own versions. The feeds that offer instant doses of approval, the apps that take away the fear of rejection, the systems that hand you exactly what you wish for before you have even named the wish. All of it designed to remove any discomfort, any gap, any need for effort. And this endless escape from pain comes at a price. The price is your own strength. Here I must tell you something the age does not wish to hear. Pain has a purpose. Across a lifetime of work with suffering people, I came to believe that a great deal of what we call mental illness is, at its root, the avoidance of the legitimate suffering a life requires. Suffering shapes you.
Frustration teaches you. Difficulty forces you to grow into something larger than you were. But when every challenge is softened away before you can meet it, you become fragile. And so today the smallest failure can feel like the end of the world, and the smallest discomfort unbearable. Anything that asks for patience or effort is set aside, because we have been trained to take the easiest road, the quick pleasure, the instant relief. And the fragile are far easier to lead. A people who are strong, who can bear discomfort and learn from it, will never be truly docile. But a people who flee all suffering, who need a constant stream of stimulation simply to keep the emptiness at bay, will be obedient and easy to move. This is how the trap quietly closes. What looks so much like freedom, the power to escape all pain, turns out to be the prison itself. So let me ask you plainly, what is it you are truly seeking in your life? Happiness or meaning? Pleasure or purpose? Your age has trained you to believe that happiness is the highest goal. But look at what it offers you in the name of happiness. An endless string of fleeting pleasures. The approval on a screen, the impulsive purchase, the hours lost to one more episode, the food that gives a quick spike of delight and then leaves you emptier than before. All of it satisfies you for a moment and never for long, because pleasure, by its nature, is temporary. It must be renewed again and again, or the emptiness comes flooding back. Now think instead of the moments that truly mattered in your life, the ones that shaped who you have become. Were they moments of easy pleasure, or were they moments of challenge, of effort, of overcoming something hard? There was a man named Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who survived the Nazi camps, and who wrote in his book On the Search for Meaning that a human being cannot live without purpose. He saw in the very worst conditions a person can endure that those who found some meaning in their lives were the ones who survived and kept their minds whole. And here lies the great paradox. The endless pursuit of pleasure weakens us, while the pursuit of meaning makes us strong. Pleasure is easy and immediate and habit-forming. Meaning asks for effort, for discipline, for the willingness to suffer along the way. But unlike pleasure, meaning does not vanish the moment its effect wears off. It builds something inside you that remains. I found the very same thing in my own work, above all in those who came to me in the second half of their lives. So many of them arrived not with an illness I could name, but with a quiet certainty that their lives had lost all meaning. And they did not recover through more pleasure, or more success, or more things. They recovered by finding their own meaning, by becoming at last who they truly were. I once said that the smallest thing with a real meaning is worth more than the greatest thing without one. A person who has found their own meaning has no need to drown every moment in distraction. They are far harder to move with the cheap promise of instant happiness. So if you feel that something is missing in your life, perhaps the answer is not more pleasure, but less. Not more distraction, but the courage to clear it away and to ask the questions that frighten you. What truly moves me? What am I here to build? Now we come to the question that matters most. How do you find your way out? I will not pretend this is an easy fight. Everything around you and something within you pulls steadily toward the easier path. But there is a way through, and it begins the moment you see clearly what is happening to you. The first step is to loosen the grip of the things that have captured you. This does not mean rejecting all pleasure, or punishing yourself, or living like an ascetic in a cave.
It means choosing consciously to step back for a time from the stimulations that pull at you compulsively. The endless feeds, the constant noise that fills your every spare moment. And when you do step back, something quiet begins to happen. Your mind slowly recalibrates. It starts to find satisfaction once more in small and simple things, and the craving for the artificial begins to lose its hold. The second step is to relearn how to be with discomfort, to let yourself be bored, to let yourself be silent, to disconnect from the flood and simply to exist without rushing to fill every gap. At first this will be hard. Your mind, so used to its constant stimulation, will demand more and more. But if you stay, you will discover something that changes everything. The discomfort does not destroy you.
And in that silence you have feared for so long, you begin, at last, to hear yourself. The third step is to think for yourself again, to ask the honest questions. Why do I feel this need to distract myself every waking moment? What am I avoiding each time I reach for the screen? What might I become if I were not caught in this cycle? The more honestly you ask, the more you will see that a great many of your habits and even your desires were never truly chosen by you. And only the one who dares to ask these questions can begin to write their own life. And the fourth step, the deepest of all, is to put in the place of the pleasure you chase a meaning you choose to build. Ask yourself what truly matters to you, what you wish to make of your one life. These are difficult questions. They are also the only ones that have ever truly mattered. If you have come this far, then something in you has already begun to stir awake. You have seen that the endless chase after pleasure is not freedom at all, but a cycle that keeps you small. And now that you can see the trap, the only question left is what you will do with what you now know. To step out of this asks for more than willpower alone. It means swimming against the current. It means choosing the harder road and accepting that a certain solitude often walks beside it. Because once you stop distracting yourself, you begin to see, and not everyone around you will wish to see alongside you. And I want to be careful here, because this is not a matter of becoming better than other people. Every one of us has fled the silence. Every one of us has reached for the easy comfort before we were ready to face the hard thing. So this is not about looking down on anyone. It is about deciding for yourself to stop. Some, when they see you change, will feel uneasy, because your change quietly reflects something they are not yet ready to meet in themselves. They may try to draw you back, to reassure you that nothing is wrong, that life is meant simply to be enjoyed without too much thought. But by now you know better. Pleasure without meaning is only a gentler form of servitude. So the choice is yours, and it has always been yours. You can go on as you have, reaching for the next distraction, quietly ignoring the emptiness that keeps growing in you. Or you can take back your own mind, build something that matters, and become a person who is no longer so easily moved. So tell me in the comments, have you felt yourself caught in this cycle? And which of the two roads will you choose? Write it down in your own words, because to put it into words is already a first step toward freedom. And stay for the next video. This path does not end here, and there is more of it still waiting for you if you are ready to go deeper.